documented problem in Macon-Bibb, but what about dumping? Tonight, our Noel Espinal has the latest on this dumping and what one commissioner has to say about this problem. 2 missing persons cases in the last 2 weeks and one still going on for a year. Tonight, we have the latest on these cases and where they currently stand.
Live from downtown Macon, this is WGXA News at 5.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching WGXA News at 5. I'm Greg Lloyd. And as we come on the air tonight, we start with 3 missing persons cases, 2 reported within the past 2 weeks alone, and 1 from a year ago today. Our Aaron Wise, Brittany Miller, and Ashton Packer, they're all standing by live to tell you more about these cases. We turn our attention first to Brittany Miller and the latest in the search for a missing Sandersville woman. In the last few hours, the Department of Natural Resources searched a pond on Highway 24. The Washington County Sheriff calls it an area of interest that they're looking to rule out. Brittany, what else can you tell us?
Well, Greg, as you said, the DNR just wrapped up a search of a pond on Highway 24 West, and Sheriff Cochran says they didn't find anything. Earlier this week, the Georgia State Patrol watched from the skies. This has become a multi-agency investigation as the Washington County Sheriff's Office says every man and woman in their office is focused on finding Tina Prince. The FBI is providing technical support to this investigation, while the GBI is assisting in all aspects, conducting interviews, analyzing information, and forensics. Sheriff Cochran tells us that crime scene specialists have already inspected that Kia Forte that was left in a Walmart parking lot, and they found nothing. As these agencies get out to look in places they hope to find Tina Prince, they're checking her bank and phone records too. Community members here in Sandersville are remaining hopeful.
Our community has come together with all this, and we've all been praying and hoping for the best.
Now, tonight, a community prayer vigil for Tina Prince is happening at the First Church of the Nazarene. The vigil is to continue to pray for Prince's safety and her return to her family. Tina Prince is a mother of 2 adult daughters, and a grandmother, and a first-grade teacher at Ridge Road Primary School. Sheriff Cochran says that he is communicating with her family on a daily basis. Reporting live in Sandersville, Brittany Miller, WGXA News.
All right, thank you for that report, Brittany. We know that you've been working on this story extensively, and we're going to check back with you in the next half hour for more information. We turn our attention now to Aaron Wise, who's covering a missing man out of Chauncey. Now, Aaron was in Dodge County today, and she spoke with his family. Aaron, what is the latest?
Well, Greg, according to Dodge County Sheriff Brian Robinson, the search continues for John Snellgrove today. Yesterday, Georgia State Patrol were here doing aerial searches while the sheriff's office was conducting interviews with people who had last seen him. At this time, they don't suspect foul play, but Sheriff Robinson says they are keeping their options open. John's daughter, May, says the last time she knew where her father was 2 weeks ago when he headed to an Eastman gas station. May tells me her father does battle alcoholism and is known to check himself into rehab. However, he's never gone this long without communicating with someone.
What made it apparent to y'all that like something was wrong?
When he was missing for a week. I can understand a few days because, sometimes I do that, but not a week. He's not going to be away from anybody for a whole week.
May tells me they've called the local hospitals, jail, and rehab facilities, but her father wasn't at any of them. As the hours and days go by without word from Mr. Snellgrove, May's concern for her father's life rises. She asked for people to continue to look for her dad and give any information about his last known whereabouts to the sheriff's office. Reporting live, Aaron Wise, WGXA News.
Aaron, we thank you for that report, and we'll check back with you in the next half hour with more as well. And finally, we're checking in with our Ashton Packer with continuing coverage of out of Baldwin County. And Ashton, you followed up with Dana Bass, whose son Kevin has been missing for a year now. Ashton?
Greg, the first thing that Dana Bass told me when I saw her earlier today was that her son has now been missing for 371 days. And she knows that because she's counted every single one of them. We first heard from the Bass family in 2020 after Kevin had gone missing and hasn't been seen since. Initially, there were questions about the circumstances of the 29-year-old's disappearance. Investigators say he left home on foot without taking his keys, wallet, or medication. He did bring his phone, which was tracked by police until the battery eventually died. The case inspired residents from across the state to hold search parties, some coming all the way to Milledgeville from Augusta. Teams swept across thousands of acres on ATVs, and police choppers were deployed when Kevin's phone pinged in the woods. All of that, and Kevin was never recovered. Dana says that people came regularly for several weeks, but as time passed, the searches grew fewer and farther between. Kevin's presence remains in her heart, though his physical traces are slowly diminishing. He and his mother used to share a car, which was left behind when he first disappeared, but that car was recently totaled, leaving even less of him to be remembered. Captain Brad King with the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office has been investigating the case from the start. He says there's still hope for finding Kevin alive, or at least recovering his remains.
We were able to close in my tenure over detectives was a case of a man that had been missing for about 7 years. His remains were located by a hunter.
Stick around for the next half hour to hear from Kevin's mom, Dana, and to see what she needs to move on. Reporting live from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, Ashton Packer, WGXA News.
Okay, thank you, Ashton. And as always, if you want to stay up to date with the latest, our reporters have these developing stories for you. Just head on over to our website, WGXA.tv. Warner Robins police are looking for 2 suspects in a Wednesday night armed robbery. Police responded to the Sunoco at 1063 Russell Parkway after reports of the robbery. They say 2 men entered the store with guns demanding money. They ran from the station with that money. Police say the clerk was not physically harmed in the robbery, but anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Chad Pierce at the number you see there on your screen. A man was convicted on multiple fraud-related charges in Monroe County this week. Leonard Curry was convicted for fraud, theft, and forgery. Deputies arrested Curry in January of 2020. Investigators learned of Curry's involvement in hundreds of incidents of stolen mail, money, and identities affecting victims across the entire state. He's been sentenced to serve 20 years in prison. A car crashed into a convenience store on Jeffersonville Road earlier this morning. It happened at the Jim's Food Mart. Deputies say the driver's foot slipped off of the brake, causing the car to lurch forward and hit the building. The damage included a broken window and busted wall. The store is open and thankfully no injuries were reported. No arrests were made and no citations were issued. And remember, you can always download our free WGXA News app to stay up to date with all the latest developing stories. Excuse me there, clearing the throat here as we turn to weather. And we had a warm but at times cloudy day. Meteorologist Joe Spear in the Weather Center with more. Hey there, Joe.
Hey there, Greg. You're certainly right. More clouds in the sky today. And in fact, today, some of those clouds producing a couple showers and storms here across parts of the mid-state. Luckily, some of the intense stuff has been sticking farther up towards the north and farther off towards the east, just dealing with a couple of isolated things that we typically would see around this time in the summer days. We saw one shower was getting a little close towards Macon. Can't actually see any of the rain touching down here with our Wilson Bright Heating and Air Skycast network, but you can see the clouds. Temperatures definitely on the warm side. We're sitting at 90 degrees. That's a little close towards average. Winds are pretty calm here, at least in this portion of the mid-state. Temperatures for the rest of middle Georgia, very similar to what we saw in Macon. Many of us either at 90 degrees or close to it. We're not breaching above 90 right now. Many of us sitting down towards those upper 80-degree temperatures. Average this time of year is 89. So if you averaged out what we're seeing right now across middle Georgia, we'd be pretty close to being towards average. Now, the storms that we're going to see today do have a slight potential to be severe, but likely timing in towards the afternoon, evening hours. So we're either past that point or we're heading in towards it right now. But again, it's a 1 out of 5, and it's just the afternoon chance of an isolated storm or shower. So nothing really to be too intense about. What are we expecting later in towards tonight? The showers and storms coming towards a wrap as we step forward in time, likely by the time we get closer towards 7, seeing mostly cloudy skies. Clouds are going to taper in as the night goes by and then just sort of mix match. We'll have some mostly cloudy, fully cloudy conditions coming up overnight. Temperatures cooling down towards the upper 60s. 60s for tomorrow morning, very similar to what we saw this morning. Here's what we're going to be talking about weather-wise for the next half hour. Storm chances arriving today. How much longer are they going to last? Temperatures leveling out. We also have the opportunity to see the space station coming up tonight. Here's a look at what else we have coming up in the rest of this half hour.
Yeah, Joe, we've got a lot for you, but we want to remind you to download that WGXA weather app. If you haven't done so, Joe will be back in less than 20 minutes with that 10-day forecast.
Haven't gotten your vaccine yet? I'm Angela Brown in Washington. The incentives being offered for free to get more shots in arms.